Welcome to Hey Soul Sista, the podcast for women ready to embrace greater joy, freedom, and a soulful life. And if you enjoyed this episode, please remember to subscribe, follow, like, and share. Hey Soul Sisters! In this episode, we dive deep into the art of letting go, surrendering control, and finding peace in the present moment. I'm joined by two incredible guests, Psychologist Kaz Amos and Yogi Holly Green, as we talk about how expectations can derail us, the power of curiosity, and how truly releasing attachments can lead to more ease, joy, and peace in our lives. Kaz and Holly share practical tools that help us reconnect with our bodies and navigate the challenges of life, relationships, and parenthood. So whether you're grappling with grief, stress, or just the pressure of trying to control it all, this episode is full of wisdom and grounding practices to help you let go, breathe, and embrace the present with curiosity and compassion. Kaz Amos and Holly Green back in the Hey Soul Sista studio today. Off the back of the individual episodes that I've done with both you, Kaz, and you, Holly, the feedback that I received about your episodes and the wonderful learnings and people's connections to what you were saying, the wisdoms that you were giving, and actually just to each of you, to your stories, has been really wonderful.
So someone stopped me outside of yoga, actually.
Yeah.
And said, thank you so much for giving women in midlife permission to just be going through midlife and finding it hard and struggling. And as she said that, she welled up in tears. And so I actually went and listened to the episode myself to think, like, what did we say?
What did we say again? And Holly, what I really noticed actually on social media was people commenting and saying, wow, Holly, I didn't realize that was your story.
I thought at the time everyone knew that we were going in for brain surgery and then life.
Your little boy having brain surgery, not you.
Not me. I don't think many people knew that he was blind from that. So I think a lot of people had this idea just only because we didn't really say anything because we were in it.
And I guess it's one of those things where you kind of just think people know.
Like if you've spoken about it once on social media, you assume everyone who follows you sees that, which obviously they don't.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that, because I was getting feedback about how amazing you are and people were really inspired by your story. And again, you were really open sharing about how your yogic learnings and wisdom, how that really helped you to get through a really, really rough time.
Well, thank you for giving me that space to share and to be open and honest, because it's not always easy to, I guess, be so open about that vulnerable part of your life. Yeah. And it feels safe. I think we're at a stage where it feels safe to speak about our life now, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is,
so thank you.
Thank you. It was, I thought it was lovely and I loved the response to your episode. Yeah. And again, we were talking about surrender, and it's probably been in the last couple of years that the whole concept of letting go has come on my radar. And that's because of my own personal stuff, which I've gone on about many times in other episodes, so I don't need to bang on necessarily about it now. But it's funny because you know how they go that sometimes things appear when you're ready for it? I don't remember when in my 20s, 30s, or in my early 40s actually thinking about letting go or thinking about surrender. It just wasn't anything that actually really came across my path. But because it is on my radar now, I now see how important it is. And especially talking about the Buddhist concept of attachment, and that attachment is the cause of suffering. And I really see that. I notice myself when I start to feel anxious about something or having strong emotions about something and do the whole observer, witness, what's going on? Why are you feeling this way? What's happening here? It's usually because there's an attachment there somewhere. Now, Kazi, you, my friend, psychologist extraordinaire, so you sit and listen and talk to people day in, day out about what's going on for them. So what are the different sorts of attachments and issues come up for people that really it's about for them surrendering and letting go?
I think most commonly, maybe most common, but there's a number of common things that people talk about that attachment is part of people, their relationships, their roles and their labels that they are, who I am, and the attachment to what the, say, psychologist means, and how important that is. And also the ideas that we have about how something should be and holding on to those. And when those things get destroyed or changed without choice, that's often when people find it difficult to cope and difficult to adjust to the new idea or the new way that they'd never actually considered could happen. And actually, as I was driving here on the way, I was thinking about this and wondered as well how much grief has got to do with the process of letting go and surrender. And because sometimes there's sadness that comes with the loss of a relationship and the choice to not suffer in holding on anymore, but it comes with grief too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess too, after listening to your episode, Holly, I think I heard you mention something about the future ideas that you didn't even know that you had for your son, and letting go of some of those things, and whether they were like grief too.
Yeah, massively. I think, as an adult, you get to a certain stage and you start losing people in your life. And there's a kind of grief there that I never knew kind of existed, of grieving the life that you thought. As you said, you didn't even realize you had those ideas for your life or for your family until they weren't there anymore. They're just kind of in the background. And I think there's probably a lot of us that can relate to an idea of how we thought a relationship would go or a job would go or something. You don't realize you have that sitting there until it's not that, or until it's taken away. And I think I don't know, maybe think of letting go as there's a part of it where you have to choose to let go of something. And maybe that should feel great once I let go. And actually, that's sometimes where all the unraveling can happen. And I think that's why we find it hard to let go, because if we're choosing to let go, we're going, okay, I'm willing to let go of the idea of how I thought it should go. And I think that's where a lot of that grief kind of comes in. And we're not taught how to grieve,
No, I think if anything, we're probably encouraged to suppress the grief.
Yeah, absolutely.
When are they going to get over it?
Yeah.
And it's been long enough now.
Yeah.
I think you've had, I think, post that relationship breakdown, that you've had long enough. Surely you should be feeling better by now, and it just doesn't leave room for people to feel. You said safe. It doesn't leave you feeling safe enough to feel, because people, it's not their journey to make a call for.
Absolutely. So it's interesting. I went to Sydney back in February this year to see Liz Gilbert. She was great. And I kind of went with no expectation. My girlfriend Belle was like, let's go see Liz Gilbert. And I was like, yeah, okay, weekend in Sydney, why not? We went to Hubert's for dinner, had some cocktails. It was amazing. For those 2 days, we also sat in a workshop with Liz Gilbert. And I had never really heard her speak before. I think I had read a bit of Eat, Pray, Love, but I had never read The Big Magic. So I didn't really necessarily know too much about her work. But it was interesting. One of the things she talked about, which she was very candid, and I love that. I love just people being really open and going, hey, this happens to all of us, even me too. And she was talking about, she said she has an addiction to people. Sorry, she gets addicted to certain people. And that's something that she's only recently realized. And so I would ask the question, and this is probably to you, Kazi, when does an attachment to somebody become an addiction?
My brain goes straight to neurotransmitters and hormones that are like dopamine and serotonin and norepinephrine that kind of feed that cycle of action and reward, and sometimes drama. And I know that you're also familiar with the drama triangle.
Yes, love the drama triangle.
Love the drama triangle. And the drama triangle is when you are living from a place of fear, that you will either be the victim, the persecutor, or the rescuer. So there is a cycle in that, because if you're not one, you're probably the other. And if you're not that other, you're probably the other.
And you can dance between all three.
Right. And so that fear cycle on a neurological level is all in the bottom half of your brain. It's all in the fear centers, and setting off chain reaction of adrenaline. a change, and which is an addictive level of substance, and the dopamine that you get in response to that in combination, cortisol, stress hormones, all of those things are like a soupy cocktail. And so you can get really caught in that. And if that's the life that you know, that is then your familiar, and it's easier to find it. And if you don't find it, you'll probably create it until you learn, hey, maybe I'm addicted to the drama and I can make a choice about living from a different space. And that might mean finding those attachments, letting go. It might mean finding some peace within yourself and alleviating that kind of fear, suffering, and moving into more of that love space, or from a brain, frontal lobe, and I guess finding more peace in the peace as opposed in the drama, and actively choosing to be mindful about those people in your life. I mean, it's an exhausting type of life to live.
Absolutely. And when you think about addictions, whether it's to drugs, alcohol, whatever that is, that's such a strong issue, strong problem, strong feeling. And then to actually recognize, like she did, that she was addicted to people. So she had to go through a whole thing to actually unravel that addiction.
And change that attachment for herself.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Holly, one day I was on Instagram looking at the Instagram stories, and I actually saw that you were reading David Hawkins' book, Letting Go. And it got me curious because I'm really been thinking a lot about the letting go process for a while now. And so I bought the book. I haven't finished it.
Are you a Kindle or a real book?
I'm a real
You're
book.
a real book. Nice.
Just down there. I love a real book. I have to touch it and feel it.
Yes. I had to. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, absolutely. But I love that. I love that you shared that because I was like, I'm really curious around that. So I went and jumped on Amazon, ordered that book, started reading it, have not got that far in yet, but that's okay. I'll fit that in one day between everything else that's going on. Yeah. So he talks about letting go as allowing emotions to arise without resisting or clinging. So how does this align with yogic philosophy of surrender and letting go and the idea of non-attachment?
So there's so many angles that you can kind of take. So backtrack. The Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, if you've heard of yoga, you may have heard of that, but they are, it's a very influential text from around 2,500 years ago, whether or not we know that 100%. It's always hard.
Feel like the Bible.
Totally. Like, did it come before that? And this is just when we can kind of date it to. Anyway, so the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, he talks about this concept, vairagya, and sometimes it's translated or mistranslated to detachment, but actually it's what you said, it's non-attachment. And
because there's a difference, right? Detachment and non-attachment. We'll talk about that quickly.
Yeah. Yep. So the difference is detachment is you're making this conscious choice. I'm not going to be attached to that thing. And that can look a little bit like disassociating to kind of what's happening in your life or people who are in front of you. For example, so when we got here and you're like, oh, I really loved your episode, I could have been like completely detached, like, cool, awesome, great, like whatever. And just not really engaged in life in a kind, loving way.
And we do meet those people.
Totally. And if you live a very detached life, you can become a bit of a dip. Or you can come across that way.
Keeping it real, sister. Keeping it real.
Love this yogic wisdom. The dip.
Yeah.
We can all relate to that. And I think what's really interesting is in like the yoga world, you do come across a lot of people that you're just like, maybe you're not very kind. And I think it is that level of detachment, like just so detached from what's real, what's loving, what's, the whole world is to relate to one another. That's why we're all here. And when we detach so much, we forget that we're here to relate to one another and to everything else around us, the world included. Whereas non-attachment in the Vedic worldview, how that's explained is it's more spontaneous. It just sort of happens, not by I'm choosing to be detached to this thing, but non-attachment or vairagya is a symptom or a byproduct of your practice. So for example, you're sitting in meditation or whatever your spiritual or practice might be, at some point non-attachment becomes just spontaneous. It just happens. You realize, I wasn't so attached to that thing happening. So it's less of a conscious choice to, I'm going to let that thing go, because choosing to detach and let go in that way says that you've attached in the first place. Where non-attachment is you haven't attached in the first place. And that's what Vairagya speaks about. So in Letting Go, the book, when he talks about, emotions arising, non-clinging and non-resisting, it's you haven't clung or you haven't attached to the emotion in the first place. You just allow it there and allow it to go again. So that, I think, what's kind of really frustrating about that is you can't choose it. You have to work towards moving to a place where non-attachment does become that byproduct, which is kind of really unsatisfying because it's not an easy fix. And you have to sit in the stuff and practice letting go so that you don't have to let go all the time because you haven't in the first place become attached. Does that make sense?
That totally makes sense.
It does.
Yeah.
So can I ask, where do you think that you are at? Have you experienced non-attachment?
Yep, but not in all areas of my life. And I think one of the first times that I experienced it, I guess, as a byproduct was in meditation. And it's when you notice yourself as the witness and you're just like I'm aware of my body, having this experience. I'm aware of my mind having this experience, but I'm not it, if that makes sense. And I think we've spoken about Yoga Nidra before, that you practice it. And that's one of my favorite forms of meditation. And from doing that quite consistently for quite some time is where I started to really have that lived visceral experience of non-attachment. And then that's when it would start to flow into other areas of my life and smaller areas to begin with, where you just weren't fazed by things that normally would send you.
Yes. So that's the form of non-attachment is not, because we can get riled really
Totally.
easy.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much. Little tap on the, at the wrong time,
For
the
sure.
wrong mood.
Push the wrong button.
I'm hungry, I'm tired, those basics.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it doesn't take much to set off that.
That's it.
Attachment, that reactivity.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what's been really fascinating being a mother and being so sleep deprived and not getting as many basic needs met, like showering or eating, you're so much more attached because you haven't had that, basic thing fulfilled. So I feel like my experiences of non-attachment are not as frequent at the moment.
But you're witnessing that.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's just showing up in areas of my life where I have previously not felt so attached to, if that makes sense, or I haven't clung to so much. Like my husband asking if he can have a shower. I'm like, really? Because I haven't showered all day. And
if you can't see Holly's face right now, it's not
impressed.
Yeah.
I would say she just got the big eyes on.
The triggered eyes.
Yeah, those ones.
So I think and this is why you I think have to be quite patient with yourself over the course of your life. You don't learn to be non-attached and then boom, you're just non-attached to your entire life and life is freely flowing always. If it was that easy, I think we wouldn't be here having a podcast and a conversation about it because no one would need to hear that information. But yeah, I think you find yourself, what I've noticed within me is when I get quite fascinated about how things are or curious, like if something changes or shifts really quickly, I'm like, and I'm curious about it. And I'm like, okay, that's my indicator for I'm not attached to it. Yeah.
Which is the definition of mindfulness, to approach with curiosity and non-judgment in the present moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Would you say that any time that we're not living in the present moment, we could almost say that we're then attached because we want the present moment to be a particular way and then that's attachment?
Like hanging on the outcome?
Yeah.
Yes, I would say that. And I say that off the back of exactly that discussion this morning. We've got a trip coming up and I found myself going, I don't want it to be like it was last time because, we hit a few bumps in the road emotionally on the way to the holiday last time. And we were both exhausted when we got there. So we were quite short with each other, for quite a number of days. And I was like, not doing that. And then I looked at my husband, I said, I'm actively trying to stay here now and not plan and not go there because that's a whole week away and I've got a life to live in the meantime. And if I start planning, then I'm already setting a bar of expectation. So let's go low bar. Let's go no bar. Let's just get through this day. Let's just get through this weekend. Let's get through and, just stop. Just stop. And then we hugged, which was really nice. He's like, that's nice. That's lovely. Yeah, but it was a really, a very physical way to actually make the present moment land.
Because expectations, I know that they can totally get me undone.
Railroads.
Totally railroads, because something's going to happen and I'm like, oh, I want it to be this way. And then if it doesn't end up like that, it's like, I have been consciously trying to not have expectations around things. Like actually that Liz Gilbert weekend when I went to that with Belle, I remember thinking, I'm not going to think too much about this. I'm just going to go and see what unfolds, see what arises. And because of that, I was delightfully surprised at how much I liked it because I hadn't thought too much about it. I didn't really give it too much.
Were you relaxed?
I was totally relaxed.
So your body told you, this is great. I don't have any forward thinking to, like, my nervous system's not prepared in advance for failure or dooms or, anything terrible or confronting to happen. You're just going with it in that moment. So it's easy to feel calm.
Yeah. I love that. Less expectations, fewer expectations.
Low bars.
Low bars.
No bars.
And then be curious and delightfully surprised.
This is so good in theory.
It's so good in theory.
Is everybody going, this is great in theory, but in practice?
But it's like when you're having the wedding, when you're having a birth, but you want your birth to go a certain way.
Recording a podcast episode, wanting to feel prepared ahead of time, but not wanting to prepare too much.
Totally.
And then running around trying to make sure the tech's going.
And I think this is where, anything is like really good book theory. But this is why life happens, because it's like, okay, well, you think you're non-attached. Let's see how non-attached you actually are.
Oh, yeah. When the old universe does a little kick up the bum going, let's just see how enlightened you really are.
Did you get the lesson I sent you? No. Did you get the lesson? Did you get the lesson? Did you?
Let's test you.
How many times?
Let's test you on that.
Endless amount
of times. Like, it's funny because you're at the beginning of parenting and we're kind of at the end of parenting.
I'm now grandparenting.
Yeah. But it's not changed because that change has just been constant and there's always something new to create a different expectation and hopes and dreams for. And it's not that we don't want to have hopes and dreams, but grabbing onto them and making them either confirm our life or our role or who we are. I suppose that's the thing where you make meaning from something before it happens, and then it says something about me. I'm a good mother, or I'm a good parent, a partner, good at my role, and looking for that external validation in that way ahead of time,
which ahead doesn't actually ever exist.
Damn, she went deep. It's good. That's true. Yeah, it's not. It's how we see it or how we make it.
So, ladies, why do you think it's so hard for so many of us to release control, expectations, all stories, the old stories?
Well, I think like a basic thing of it is that we think that we're fully in control in the first place. Like if we just change that idea that we're actually not fully in control, like we are in control of how we respond to the world, but that's it. You're not in control of anything else. And, even for example, like we're all sitting here having conversation, there's 3 individual people. To think like, say, if I walked in expecting it to go a particular way or wanting to control it, there's 2 other individual beings here that have, if they think that way too, then we're all going to be let down, right? Because we can't each be in control of everything, if that makes sense. I think it's about changing your worldview to an extent. Like, am I actually in control of 8 billion other people and their choices in the world? No. And, even if we think about universally, why do I think that my life should go this particular way, but no one else deserves that particular, if we can accept other people's lives going a bit tough, then why do we not expect that might happen to us too? I don't know. That's how I think about it. I'm like, well, why do I actually even think I have control over it all? Because if life has taught me anything, like you don't.
Yes, you totally have been living that.
And I think like what I was saying before is life kind of sets you up a little bit. Like that's kind of been my belief through yoga is we don't have control over anything. And life went, okay, do you actually believe that? Here's a real life lesson for you to put that into practice. And so I think for me that's what I come back to is why do I think I have control over it in the first place?
And yet we've all met and worked with controlling people, sometimes very controlling, and the impact of that on people surrounding them. And I'm going to say, look, do you know what? I can hold a mirror up to myself and say there's been a many a time in Got Your Back, Sister, and actually probably even sometimes maybe with my husband.
Totally.
Get controlling.
In relationships.
That was
totally.
actually my husband I did have that big learning with. That was this is his journey. His life is his journey. And I'm not the boss of it. When it comes to control, that's about all I can look after. And because control, people feel safe when they're in control. They feel somewhat unsafe when things feel out of control.
And that's why people become
It's a bit of-
controlling.
But it's a bit of a
Because they
false
want-
idea that, like you said, are we really in control of anything? Not much. That's why I come back to I can look after myself. I can look after my emotions. I can look after everything to the edges of my skin, from, inside to the edges of my skin. That's about all I can look after. So why don't I just do that and see how the rest pans out with that curiosity that you talked about? Yeah.
I think we're also like primed our whole life to always be forward thinking. Like, you go to school and then what are you going to do after school? And then when are you going to have babies? And then what are you going to do for your career and all this stuff? We're always forward thinking, which I think does give us this false idea that if I forward think enough, if I become anxious enough about it or stressed enough about it or put enough pressure on, then I'll be in control of it and it will all be okay. And
Yes.
I think we're just, primed for it. I don't necessarily think we freely make that choice to control. I think it just happens.
And yet the analogy that I always come back to on that, and don't be scared, everybody, but do you all drive at night? Right. How far in front of you do your lights light up the road? A couple of 100 meters, 100
If that.
meters?
If that, yeah.
And yet
Like
you're
20.
willing to, yeah.
High beams, maybe a little bit more.
And it depends if you have your glasses on or not.
Yeah.
But you can only see to there, and yet you're willing to drive at 110.
Right.
So in reality, we know how to practice this in real life in a car, but that's a bit of a reflection about how far we can actually see in front of us. And yet we're still willing to participate and be present as it all unfolds, as it will. And it's kind of brave in a sense to just go, okay, well, I only know that far and that's that. It very quickly brings you back to your own self. And I don't know, finding your way in amongst that, because you must do it with some level of, I don't know, assurance or faith. I don't even know what to call it, but just some people say trust in the process. Well, yeah, it is some level of that I'll be okay, I guess. Most of us get out of this, to a degree.
Yeah. Until the end.
Until the end, yeah. And then, beyond that is beyond that. Again, I have no idea.
Yeah.
And no control over that either. But it's an idea. It's just an idea that we have control that does something, spiritually, physiologically, biologically. But how real is that? And I guess that's where the letting go and the surrender is. Oh, it's an idea, and I could really get some deep determination out of that as to who I'm going to be. Or what could happen if it's just what it is?
So when we actually start to let go and to let go of attachment or surrender or to a moment, so the surrendering to life circumstances, which you have talked about before when you were going through that whole medical process with little Joey, did it give you more peace? Because I would say, and again, I am a novice, right? Total novice. But I have found going through this whole letting go process of my egoic attachments to Got Your Back Sister and a whole heap of other things, whole letting go of a lot of things, which I won't list. But I would say it actually has given me a greater, just general sense of peace and ease. Is that what you would find?
Yeah.
Is that what you found?
Yeah. And I think, there's still a whole process of, getting my nervous system back into like a baseline after going through all of that. And I guess realizing the importance of, which, we talk about a lot in yoga, but I guess my nervous system had never got that out of control before. But so once I found some level of, baseline again, yeah, because it's freeing to be like, well, I'm not actually in control. So then what? If I'm not in control, then how do I live? And we are trying to I think we all want peace, whether or not we know that. That's sometimes what we're seeking. Because I think a lot of other things we find to be maybe very conditional or very circumstantial. Like I'll be happy when this happens or this makes me angry. Not a lot of us think about peace often because we might think, well, peace is a byproduct again of life being a very particular way. But actually peace can be experienced and found. All traditions tell us that when, shit hits the fan.
Interestingly, in David Hawkins, his emotional, what does he call it?
Does he call it a hierarchy?
Yeah, like a hierarchy of emotions or something.
It's like the frequency.
The frequency.
Yeah.
It's got a name. I can't remember what it is.
I can't remember it.
But peace is at the top.
Peace is the ultimate.
It's peace, joy, love, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
As you were speaking, I was thinking, we don't say, I'll be peaceful when.
No.
We say happy.
Totally. Yeah.
But we're kind of missing the point a little.
Yeah.
But actually, peace is at the top, right? That's actually the ultimate.
Yeah.
Contentment.
For sure. And when I was talking to my mentor quite early on after hospital, I can't remember if she said to me like, "Oh, are you happy?" or whatever. And we just kind of had the conversation of, I kind of said to her like, well, my ideas of happiness have changed now, and that's not my goalpost anymore. Like my goalpost is peace. That's what I'm, trying to seek out or embrace, because everything else is a little bit conditional, and peace can be there, I think, as an overarching. I'm not saying I'm peaceful all the time. My God, like that is absolutely not the case. But to have like an underlying quality of it, I think is incredibly freeing. And I think that's when we're not controlling so much anymore. We're just at peace or content with where life is going to go. And I think if Kaz, what you were saying before about like roles and identities, I think that's this false idea of control. We think we can control our identity and our ego and our role in the world so tightly, like that's up to us. We can't control what anyone else thinks about us, or, we don't know if the role that we have in our head in the world is the same as other people have about us. Like we actually can't control that, but we like to think that we can. Once you kind of realize that maybe you're gripping or controlling other areas of your life because you want your ego and your identity to stay so intact, which is wild. That's what we get so stuck on. Then you kind of just let life happen a little bit more, because you're not trying to let life reinforce this idea of who you are. And so you just, it does become more peaceful. And I think I've found this level of peace in life. Just life will be okay. Like I've been through what for me so far has been the worst of it, and I'm still okay. I wasn't okay, but when you get to the other side, like it's okay again. And there is freedom in that, and there's peace in that. And I think sometimes as well, you don't, I think acceptance brings peace too. And sometimes you only can accept.
Yeah.
No point in anything else. Like I think for all of us at some point in life, we have that moment that it's like life is just asking you to accept, and you can't run anywhere else.
Well, it's like you were talking about previously in the last episode we did, you were talking about this is my path, and I am walking the path that's been given to me.
Yeah. And just because we don't enjoy that path, it doesn't mean it can't be peaceful. Or because that path doesn't make us whatever we thought it would, it doesn't mean that we still can't have peace. In one of the yogic texts, the Bhagavad Gita, I don't know if we spoke about this last time, but in that it's all about walking your path. And he's a warrior, so he's born into a warrior caste, this character, and which means he has to go into battle, and he doesn't want to go into battle. And Krishna says, you're a warrior. This is your path. You have no choice but to be a warrior. That's what life is asking of you. Sure, you can for a little while go and be someone else and think that it'll bring you some kind of fulfillment and happiness or success, but it doesn't actually bring you peace. And so if we want peace, then we really just have to walk the path that's there.
If everything feels chaotic, you might just have peace in a pocket, and it might be a walk on a beach, or it might be being still. It might be meditating or yoga or lunch, a shower, the basics, sleep. But it could be all those things, and that's peaceful and that's restorative. And that then gives you the energy to continue on whatever that pathway is.
So for people that have strong attachment to something that's happening to them in life, or they feel stuck in grief or resentment or fear, I'll start with you, Kazi. When you're working with somebody and, you realize, okay, that's what's happening in this situation, what's like the process that you would go through with them, the letting go process?
I tend to take a bit of a somatic approach, and that is to pay attention to what you notice in your own body. And so somebody may say, or even me, so angry about that, and that person shouldn't have done what they did, and oh, I'm so even traumatized by actions or things that have occurred. And I would ask, where do you notice that? Like, I can see the evidence on your face. I can see it in your hands. Where do you notice that? What does that feel like? And sometimes I will ask about shape and form and color. Does that feeling have a spot? And what would you like to do with it? And this is a safe place for you to explore that. Sometimes we use therapies like EMDR and, acceptance and commitment therapy, CBT, alongside all of those lettery type things in the psych space. But essentially, we're looking to the body for the answer and understanding that it's holding it. It's holding that place and it's holding that not sense of peace, but whatever the suffering is that goes with stuckness or depression, anxiety, all those other things. And then giving it room in a safe place to breathe. Anger on the road, for instance, not that useful. It will get you into trouble. So if it's causing other problems in your life, that's usually how you end up reaching out for support. So, I take that very much a somatic approach. And most people can actually tune in very easily to their body. Some people have become so accustomed to not being in their body because they've never felt safe in their body that takes a little bit more work. And practices like yoga, when I was in yoga the other day, I don't know how, I've never thought about this. I've been practicing yoga on and off for I don't know, probably since I met you very first time around, Ollie. But there's no mirrors. There's no mirrors here because it's an opportunity for you to feel how your body feels in this posture, in this shape, and then notice what you feel in this shape. And it's not about trying and not about perfection in the shape, but it's about the noticing. It's that practice of, what is my body telling me? Where is my pain? Where is my relaxation? Can I be strong and soft at the same? There's all of those nuances. But like you said earlier, that then flows over into other things and how I cope emotionally in my life, how I react. Does that give me a bit more groundedness so I can be more, notice myself and respond differently?
The tradition of yoga says that we deal with our past in asana, and all of our past experiences, everything that we've ever gone through, from what we just ate before we went to yoga versus what happened to us, throughout our whole life, all of that experience, because that's left in the body, there's imprints there, nervous system, all of that shows up in asana.
They should have warned me.
Yeah.
This should be a caveat.
This is the thing about yoga,
yes.
is it's become so popular, and sometimes I'm like, those things aren't safe to do if you're in an unsafe environment or you feel not safe in your own self, because it brings up a lot of shit. When you do a big yoga training, it's like, is your psychologist around? Because stuff is probably going to come up that yoga is not the space to fully delve into it. You need someone else as well. You need another person. It can't just all be self-inquiry, because you need a safe person. So, when you're doing yoga and deep study of it, have a psychologist too, or have someone that can actually help you weather the stuff that, comes up. Because, as I said, asana is designed and will bring up all of your past. And then pranayama, breathwork, it helps us deal with what's happening in the present moment. And then meditation is about, it's not this simple, but, changing our idea of the future. So not being so attached to the future, not being so in control of it. Yeah.
You explained that so well.
It's not my idea. It's yoga.
You explained it well.
Yeah, and it makes so much sense. It's like connecting the dots.
Yes.
Between all these conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Holly, do you have a favorite letting go practice?
Depends on the thing, I guess.
That's
Too
actually
many things to let go of.
I was going to say that's actually implying you have a lot of, things to let go of.
We all do, right? For me, a lot of I guess a tangible thing is yoga asana, because it will, particularly forward folds, they teach you to let go. That's what it's asking you to do. So when you do a forward fold pranically, so energetically, all of your energy and what it does to your nervous system is asking it to relax, to calm down, to let go, which means you're going to be confronted with what you're not letting go of yet. So for example, if you go to yoga and you're doing forward folds, so belly to thighs, if you find yourself I hate these poses, then that's probably some idea that letting go for you is really challenging, or you don't feel safe to let go, your nervous system isn't kind of rested enough yet. So for me, if I am like, okay, I need to let go, then I'm just like forward folding, which can just be like lay down, hug your knees into your chest, because it will bring your breath down into your belly as well. Naturally, you'll start to breathe diaphragmatically, but also it will help you get a longer exhale breath. So if you've got compression on your belly, it'll help you to push out extra breath that you might, if you're really stressed, like you don't breathe out. You just
Yeah. Yeah,
like
yeah,
really
totally.
quick out. It's not all the way out. And so there's like this level of you're holding on even in your breath. So your mind's going to hold on. Everything's going to hold on. Your nervous system's never going to feel safe to actually let go. So I think like somatics is a perfect example, because we can talk about peace. We can talk about enlightenment. But if you're in a body that's unsafe, that won't happen. And this is why yoga is that, asana first, and then breath work, and then meditation, and in that order. So yeah, forward folds are like medicine to your nervous system, particularly if you feel highly strung or you feel like you're just bracing. That's something that I've experienced a lot after everything we've been through, is my body is just like bracing. Like, when do I have to protect myself from life again? And so it's not even like my mind can think like, okay, it's peaceful. But what my body went through, and having to be so hyper vigilant, because it was life or death, to have to be so hyper vigilant for so long. And meditation can still be a part of my practice, but it's not where my work or my magic has to be right now. It has to go back into the body, because the body's like freaking out a little bit. So forward folds.
I love a
Do
forward
stuff
fold.
with the body. It's so good.
I love a forward fold. I always feel like I'm just releasing when I forward fold.
You are literally
go.
pranically,
I
energetically.
love it. The ragdoll one. I love that. Just hanging, just chilling.
I've
I
got
love
some
it.
work to do.
Yeah.
That's where your work is, and
That's
your
where my
forward
work
folds.
is. That's right.
And that'll change over time too. You'll have other poses that you need at different times. But I think this is where, when we're like engaging with public yoga classes and we don't know the energetic impact of what we're doing, this is why stuff can come up, and yoga can actually, for some people, it can make you feel worse. It might not be the best thing if it's not therapeutic in that sense of like knowing what I need, and then what poses are actually going to create that in my nervous system and energetically, and then doing that.
I'm not fussed on the plank.
Oh no.
Not fussed on that.
Because life is too hard. Why do we need a yoga pose to be that hard as well,
I'm glad you said that. If you were like, what are you talking about? The plank's great, I would have been like,
That's for fitness.
It is. And I've only done that with yoga with Adrian. Actually, I don't know if I can't remember when I haven't done a yoga class in a long time. I had just been doing yoga with Adrian.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. So, Kazi, for someone who's listening right now, who's holding on to a painful past event, what's one small step they can take towards release?
Breathe. Breathe. Pause. Breathe deep.
Yeah.
Go with those deep inhales and exhales, because a deep breath practice will start to assure that nervous system and that body that you live in, I can be safe and okay.
Yeah.
It's all, again, like you only have to the edges of your skin to look after. So your breath is one of the first things that can help you to land. And if there is no threat of safety in your life currently, that can be a great place to start. If you are under threat, though, that can feel really, really vulnerable. And that's why doing something like that with the support of somebody else, because that other person's job then, probably like you're working as a yoga teacher, is to hold space in the present moment for that person while they're experiencing something potentially uncomfortable or threatening from the past. And so it's important to be able to be held in the present. So your breath can do that, and the support of somebody else can do that too. But that's what I'll say, breathe.
Okay.
So simple.
So
We're not very good at it though, are we?
I always sort of thought, this psychology gig is probably a bit of rocket science. It's not rocket science. It's not. It's about coming back to our humanity and doing the basic things of humanity that then allow us to be better humans with each other. And breathing, even speaking about breathing, I can feel somatically you are both still. If I was sitting here like this and holding my breath way up here, then you would both gather and rise to that too. So, that co-regulation that comes from that somatic experience of breath. But to be able to do that for ourselves, maybe before we get out of the car and walk in the house or before we don't get our shower,
Yeah.
breathe dirty, breathe hungry, but allow ourselves to just come back to that.
Is there anything you're letting go of right now?
Yes.
Do you want to share it?
No, I know that I've got something very much in particular, but I am working on it. And the funny thing about holding on to it is that I know what I need to do. I'm not ready yet. I'm just not ready yet.
Yes.
So I'm having this kind of mental game in my head as to how much, because I'm trying to decide for myself how much is okay for me to let go of and how much is okay for me to hold on to, even though I know that holding on to all of it is not a great idea, but I'm just not ready to let go of the whole thing just yet. So,
But it sounds like you're witnessing that and you're aware of it.
absolutely. And that's probably, again, another one of those things that we can all do is be aware of that, because it will show up and you'll get an opportunity to let it go real soon.
Yeah. What about you, Holly?
Wow. I just want to say, I love that you said that you are kind of aware that like you could let it go, but you're just not ready. Because I think when it comes to like spiritual or self-work, we think I should be able to do this and I should be further along than I am. But the best thing we can do is just be honest and be like, okay, well, I'm just not ready for that right now. So I'm not going to pull myself apart because I should be able to let it go.
Thank you.
So I love that. I feel like that'll be really comforting to a lot of people to be like, oh, it's okay to be like, should let go, but also not ready for that right now.
I think that's what it speaks to. I'm not ready. And a part of me is like judging, assessing a level of risk. And I'm sure I'll get to a point eventually where I'll feel okay with that. But yeah, not entirely. But I can see the steps in place because I have made movement. But yeah, thanks for saying that. And I do hope that's comforting to people because we're not superhuman. And letting go is not a switch.
No, exactly.
It's a process.
It's a transition. Yeah, it is.
What am I letting go of? I feel like I'm trying to work through at the moment, which I feel like is probably going to be a forever thing. But I think, you're much further down the motherhood line than I am. But just this, which I've gotten a little bit better at, but thinking like my rest time or my nourishment time has to be an hour at the end of the day. So letting go of this idea that what I've always done will continue to be what I can do, or what I even like thinking, oh, I'll get back to that one day. So that's actually for me been quite hard to just come to terms with. I think not come to terms with, but just to accept it and go, okay, we'll find a new way then of how you can find nourishment again, or find a new way of how you can access rest, because it's not going to be for an hour every day. It's not going to be necessarily in your sleep when you've got a 1-year-old. It might be in like 1 minute every hour. And that's where rest or, a sense of breathe when you've got a toddler that's on the move, who, by the way, is blind. He's amazing. He knows walls are there without, it's wild.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's called, what they do is called echolocating. So when he moves, he will make like little noises, and that's how he knows that something's there. It's insane. I took
How
him
clever is that?
So clever. I took him to an appointment the other day, and I'm pretty relaxed about it. I just let him like wonder if he falls or hurts himself, he'll learn that it's there. And I was like, you haven't been here before. And he was just like tracking around the table that was there and then made his way over to the other lounge. And I was just like watching in fascination, like, that is so cool.
He's walking now?
He's not walking, he's crawling. He's getting close to walking. He's not super interested, but like he's coasting furniture. Yeah, he attempting to walk, but not fascinated by it just yet. He's like, well, I can crawl, that's faster. But yeah, so I'm kind of always on, as I think most mothers are, even I'm sure when you have adults, thinking about them constantly. So like that's kind of what
changes.
That's what I'm trying to figure out, how to let go of this idea that I'll feel rested again, or I'll feel super nourished, and I'll get this little pocket of time for me every day. And then I think letting go of how that is in your relationship, like constant tag teaming, like that's, or like wanting it to be different. That's kind of what I'm navigating, letting go of. Haven't let it go. And I think it'll take a long time. And then it'll change again when he's older. And but so learning to find a new way to do things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to end this fabulous podcast episode. Kazi, where can people find out or connect with you?
kazamos.com.au, which is not up yet, so don't look for it. Just yet. And I'm letting that go.
I love that.
It's on the way. Just saying.
It's coming.
Yeah. Or the Hummingbird Centre for Psychology. Yeah.
And what about you, Miss Holly?
My website is beingdivinelyu.com. So you can find me there or on Instagram. Yeah.
I love your Instagram.
Oh, thanks.
I find it very inspiring.
Thank you. I feel like that's one thing I let go of. My Instagram needing to be a particular way or to make certain content, just like whatever it is what it is.
Well, it's great. I love it.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. Hey, thank you so much for coming and doing this episode. I've loved this.
What a pleasure.
I know. It's awesome.
So nice to chat.
Yeah, absolutely. Having a great chat about life and how we can live our most joyful, peaceful, free life, free from attachments and just surrendering
This episode as it goes out into the universe.
Yes,
exactly.
With all the blessings and all the divineness and all the sweetness and joy that it can offer.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Holly and Kaz.
Thanks, Mel.
Thanks for